Do you have anything, literally anything, to say about Kamala Harris that isn't racism or sexism?
Yeah, and then there's the DEI press secretary telling you that the DEI vice president is the future of the party here. And so the future looks kind of dim for the Democrats here, but this is no shocker either. Kamala Harris, she's the original Haktua girl. That's the way she got where she is. And the party's going downhill if it's in her hands.
That was tough.
How do you do both? Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. MAGA, you still haven't responded to my note about Byron Donalds or Candace Owens. Are y'all all right?
Mr. President, Kamala Harris's father is Jamaican American, and she went to a historically black college. How is she only recently deciding to be black?
Well, you'll have to ask her that question because she's the one that said it. I didn't say it. So you'll have to ask her. And I very much appreciate that question, but you'll have to ask her. But I've known her for a long time. I actually contributed to her campaign a long time ago because I was a developer. I contributed to lots of campaigns of Democrats, Republicans, and some were liberal and some were conservative. But you'll have to ask her about that.
Yeah, that whole thing is not going well, especially since he refuses to actually debate her and make his point to her face. See, the thing is, he did this whole thing already. Yeah, with Obama. Yeah, it sounded desperate. I did a whole video about it. Do y'all have anything else?
You're being logical. Stop it, all right? She's a DEI hire, right? She's a woman. She's colored, therefore she's got to be good.
There's a lot at stake, plus the progressive movement. They are this close to locking this thing in. They have opened the borders. They've changed the entire culture of this country. If you look at the cities, it's almost over. If they can drag him across the finish line and install Kamala, we have a DEI presidency that they can celebrate for the rest of the administration.
That's a whole lot of DEI. And I get that that's a good first instinct because it's worked so well in the past to scare people about the dangers of brown. But you're trying to attract casuals in 2024, and they need you to couch your racism a little bit better than you have been. Because it looks really, really bad, especially considering that your candidate, Donald Trump, yeah, he actually supported her in the past. And two, because he is Donald Trump. Yes, you are saying that somebody is unqualified while running a felon with a whole laundry list of lawsuits, bankruptcies, and divorces behind him. Not to mention being caught on 4K multiple times saying things that would get the rest of us locked up.
Grab him by the pussy.
And also your vice president is JD Vance. I hate to be a stickler for the rules. I don't know if you read the terms and conditions, but it said if the vice president on your ticket is there because he wrote a book, you cannot call somebody unqualified. I hate to break it to you.
She said a couple of days ago that I showed no loyalty to the United States, that I have no loyalty to the United States. Well, you know, I don't know Kamala. I served in the United States Marine Corps and I built a business. What the hell have you done other than collect a government check for the past 20 years?
Now, he didn't actually say DEI, but it's still racism. Yeah, JD, he hasn't been listening, clearly, to anything.
Well, I think she's one of the weakest candidates I've ever seen in the history of our country. I mean, intellectually, just really kind of the bottom of the barrel. And from the standpoint of just who she is and the policies, the positions that she's taken, her failure to do anything in terms of the border, that sort of thing, I think it's just a failure from top to bottom. I think she was a DEI hire, and I think that that's what we're seeing. And I just don't think that they have anybody else. I just think that they're in real disarray.
See, Harriet Hagman, you don't want to go with DEI. No, because a lot of people don't realize that you are a Nepo baby. Yeah, because people don't pay a whole lot of attention to Wyoming, so they forget the fact that your father actually served in the State House from 1983 to 2006. So you don't really want to draw attention to that, because eventually all of this groundswell of support that you're enjoying about it's supposed to be the best person available will come for the nepotism. It's just a matter of time. I told Don Jr. and Eric the exact same thing. That's not racist. It's just funny. Now that is definitely racist. That is definitely racist. This person seems unstable, and I suggest for the viability of Trump's candidacy that he keeps his distance.
Yeah, Bernie's doing well. The great Laura Loomer. Some of you know Laura. She's a fantastic person, great woman.
Or not. You know, speaking of unstable, it has come to my attention that one of y'all gave Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert the DEI playbook, and I need to know who did it. I need to know who gave them the playbook. That was supposed to be for competence only. You can't have somebody with a family mugshot scrapbook using the DEI playbook. And why? Let's say it together. It makes us look racist. That is exactly right.
First off, he said he's going to hire a black female for vice president, and he just skipped over. What about white females? What about any other group? When you go down that route, you take mediocrity, and that's what they have right now as a vice president.
So are you suggesting she was a DEI hire?
100%, she was a DEI hire. He said he was going to hire, and she didn't. Her record is abysmal at best.
Who even are you?
Prominent conservative congressman Tim Burchett, he was one of the people who pounced on this image of you making those false claims. He did actually take the post down. He acknowledged that he was incorrect there. What do you have to say to him as a result of all of this?
I would just like to say I'm sorry for his misunderstanding about who I am. And I appreciate him taking it down, but he still should be held accountable for what he put out there that was wrong.
Oh, you're that congressman who accused the wrong Chiefs fan of the shooting. Yeah, did you ever apologize?
Hey Tim, do you think you should apologize to Denton Loudermill, that guy that you accused of being a mass shooter? I think he wants to left it up for 4 days, Tim, and never apologized to the guy. Why didn't you apologize to that guy? Such an easy thing to do. Just apologize to the man.
You know, your mother told me, allegedly, that you were the second biggest disappointment in her life.
I would say the first one was voting for Tim Burchett, but she probably didn't. See what I mean? When this dude and these women are calling someone a DEI hire, you don't leave the casuals anywhere to go. Yes, it makes the independents and the uncommitted voters feel racist. Yeah, exactly. Because they all belong in a used car lot. Is there anything in your plan but racism?
Like, it just makes no sense. And what if we had black dudes, black brothers for Trump? Well, we'd all lose our blackness as soon as we showed up for the meeting. So, I mean, or what if we had white guys for, I don't know, Nazism? You know, like, where do you draw the line?
Yeah, you're definitely not beating those weird allegations. And you know what? Speaking of blacks for Trump, it's looking real sad out here. Yeah, it's looking real sad out here. I would say morale is especially low.
And by the way, Kamala will not be your first female president. She will not be your first female president. And It's not the way it's supposed to be. We're not supposed to have a socialist. Look, we're not going to be a socialist nation. We're not going to have a socialist president, especially a female.
Okay, well, that's something different. That's something different. But see, that's what we call sexism. See, yeah, that's not going to help with the suburban women that you're trying to attract. In fact, you remember that crypto convention that Trump spoke at? Yeah, this is how many women were there.
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people who don't really have a direct stake in it?
Childless cat ladies. There is growing criticism online right now to those comments, including from actress Jennifer Aniston. April, if your problem in the last election was suburban women, is this what you want voters to be hearing right now?
See, even if you take out all the charisma and literally anything to make a human being interesting, it's still sexism. Nice try, but even from women, it's still sexism. See, that's just called pick-me behavior. Yeah, that's the same reason that Tim Scott got married. In fact, we just awarded the pick-me of the month. That goes to Greenville Police Captain Aaliyah Paramore, who posted this. That's right, uphold the Constitution, protect our borders, and protect our children. That's a pick me right there. That is a pick me right there. Y'all are even making Tomi Lahren uncomfortable.
Don't get too comfortable on the Trump side, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this later, but the attacks on her personally, on whatever her past personally may have been, or calling her a childless lady, none of those are going to work, and they're going to make women second guess their support for what they may have felt for Donald Trump. Bad move.
Y'all are even making Tomi Lahren uncomfortable. Do you have anything, literally anything, to say about Kamala Harris that isn't racism or sexism?
There is going to be an effort to portray anybody who opposes her as either being sexist or racist. What does the campaign do? How does the Trump campaign get ahead of all of that?
Look, I think that this whole DE&I token hire of Kamala Harris has already been exposed.
Next!
Yeah, and then there's the DEI press secretary telling you that the DEI vice president is the future of the party here. And so the future looks kind of dim for the Democrats here, but this is no shocker either. Kamala Harris, she's the original Haktua girl. That's the way she got where she is. And the party's going downhill if it's in her hands.
That was tough.
How do you do both?
She represents something which I believe is probably the amalgam of the spirit of Jezebel, and in a way that'll be even more ominous than Hillary, because she'll bring a racial component, and she's younger, and so this is going to be a real thing to rise above that. So in the spirit, as a Christian, I'm describing to you warfare on two levels.
How do you do both?
I'm just wondering, do you worry how that comes across? And maybe you draw no distinction between a female candidate and a male, and that's fair game, but that this could hurt you with female voters with these type of comments.
Well, let me say it again.
Sure.
The vice president is a candidate for president of the United States. I don't care about her gender. Neil, maybe you do, but I don't. I don't care about her race. I care about her
Then
competence.
why call her a ding-dong?
And I'm telling you what the polling shows. I'm telling you what the polling shows. Right. And it does. And I'll be glad to sit down with you and walk you through the polls.
Please do, because I never know when it's constructed to call people names.
You know what? That's it. Ding dong. Just go with ding dong. It's the best thing I've heard all day. Sincere thanks to everybody who's reached out to me and submitted suggestions for videos. Keep them coming. I take submissions for ideas for a video, suggestions for Racist of the Week. If you have something that just troubles you, or you just want to send me a note, because I love getting those notes, go ahead and shoot me an email at reese@reesewaters.com. I also have a newsletter that I send out periodically, so you'll be receiving that as well. You can also sign up on my website, reesewaters.com.
We are not so different from our neighbors. When a house is on fire, we don't ask about the homeowner's race or religion. We don't wonder who their partner is or how they voted. No, we just try to do the best we can to save them. And if the place happens to belong to a childless cat lady,
Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. It's been quite an eventful last few years for Oprah Winfrey. And no, I'm not just talking about that Color Purple musical debacle. Really, nobody thought it was weird to pause while escaping Mr. to break into song? Until you do right by me, everything you do is bound to crumble. Actually, I made one of the very first Troubled Waters all about that. Speaking of music, I definitely want to give a shout out to Stevie Wonder, who made an appearance. Huh? No, I said Stevie Wonder. No, I said Stevie Wonder. No, you're John Legend. It's not always about you. Why you gotta be involved in everything? But beyond that, you have a very crowded now black media landscape. In addition to accounts and various reports coming out, calling into question exactly how down Oprah still is with the struggle, because let's just be honest, you don't get to become a billionaire by being down with the people. So when I saw that Oprah Winfrey was going to make an appearance at the DNC convention, I was particularly pleased, given that she would be opposing a man who she has some history with.
You have a vice presidential candidate in mind?
Well, I really haven't gotten quite there yet.
It's just
Oprah. I love Oprah. Oprah would always be my first choice.
Oprah.
Oprah, your competitor, right?
Oprah's a competitor.
You know what?
No
I'll tell you, she's really a great woman, though. She is a terrific woman. She's somebody that's very special. I have not even thought about it. I guess we'll see. We'll see. Maybe that's part of the whole process.
Would she be kidding aside, that you might think about?
If she'd do it, she'd be fantastic. She's popular, she's brilliant, she's a wonderful woman. if she'd ever do it, I don't know that she'd ever do it. She's got.
You'd ask her.
She'd be sort of like me. I have a lot of things going. She's got a lot of things going.
What a ticket
that would be. That would be a pretty good ticket, but she's a very exceptional woman.
Bet y'all didn't know that, did you? Yeah. And really, if there is one black demographic that Donald Trump is overperforming with, it is stars of the 80s.
I grew up a Democrat, and I've always been a Democrat until I met this man right here.
But Oprah took the baton and she ran with it.
who says you can't go home again?
My mama. Yeah, she has said that many times, in fact. I've already told my son, and he just turned 1.
After watching the Obamas last night, that was some epic fire, wasn't it? Some epic fire. We're now so fired up, we can't wait to leave here and do something. And what we're going to do is elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States. I am so honored to have been asked to speak on tonight's theme about what matters most to me, to you, and all of us Americans: freedom. There are people who want you to see our country as a nation of us against them, people who want to scare you, who want to rule you, people who'd have you believe that books are dangerous and assault rifles are safe.
Beautiful words from Oprah out of the gate right there. I especially love how she talked about that books are dangerous and assault rifles are safe. Do you think the people banning books actually read?
That there's a right way to worship and a wrong way to love.
Then she says a right way to worship and a wrong way to love. Led by a movement behind a man who struggles with both.
People who seek first to divide and then to conquer. But here's the thing. When we stand together, it is impossible to conquer us. In the words of an extraordinary American, the late Congressman John Lewis, he said, no matter what ship our ancestors arrived on, we are all in the same boat now.
Oh, I'm stealing that.
Congressman Lewis knew very well how far this country has come because he was one of the brilliant Americans who helped to get us where we are. But he also knew that the work is not done. The work will never be done because freedom isn't free. America is an ongoing project. It requires commitment. It requires being open to the hard work and the heart work of democracy. And every now and then, it requires standing up to life's bullies. I know this. I've lived in Mississippi, in Tennessee, in Wisconsin, Maryland, Indiana, Florida, Hawaii, Colorado, California.
For a second there, I thought she was giving away states.
And California. And sweet home Chicago, Illinois. I have actually traveled this country from the redwood forests, love those redwoods, to the Gulf Stream waters. I've seen racism and sexism and income inequality and division. I've not only seen it, at times I've been on the receiving end of it. But more often than not, what I've witnessed and experienced are human beings, both conservative and liberal, who may not agree with each other, but who'd still help you in a heartbeat if you were in trouble. These are the people who make me proud to say that I am an American.
Gayle King better watch her back, because that's a supporter right there.
They are the best of America. And despite what some would have you think, we are not so different from our neighbors. When a house is on fire, we don't ask about the homeowner's race or religion. We don't wonder who their partner is or how they voted. No.
I can pick up what you're putting down, Oprah, but with all due respect, don't put no limits on America's racism.
I was thinking about this as I was reading in the New York Times about 9 FDNY firefighters suspended for allegedly sharing racist messages and memes, posts which, according to the article, some of those black firefighters later found out about, hence the punishment. And by the way, this isn't the first time that I've heard of an incident like this since that summer's Great Awakening, and I'm sure it's not a first for you.
That was actually a clip from a couple years ago, back when I was a news anchor and left the house.
We just try to do the best we can to save them. And if the place happens to belong to a childless cat lady,
cold-blooded. That was cold-blooded. What did that lady do to deserve that? I mean, what did that lady? Did she agree? Did she agree to that? Was she a part of that bit? I think she's entitled to compensation. You might want to give her one of those states.
and if the place happens to belong to a childless cat lady, well, we try to get that cat out too. Because we are a country of people who work hard for the money. We wish our brothers and sisters well, and we pray for peace. We know all the old tricks and tropes that are designed to distract us from what actually matters, but we are beyond ridiculous tweets and lies and foolery.
Now, I'm going to give Oprah her flowers right here, because one thing that we definitely accuse a lot of people in her position of doing is fence sitting. She did not mention Trump by name, but she did say tweets. Did she say tweets? She did say tweets. Ain't no mistaking who she's talking about there. She's way up off the fence.
These are complicated times, people, and they require adult conversation. And I welcome those conversations because civilized debate is vital to democracy, and it is the best of America. Now, over the last couple of nights, we have all seen brave people walk onto the stage and share their most private pain. Amanda and Josh, Caitlin, Hadley, they told us their stories of rape and incest and near-death experiences from having the state deny them the abortion that their doctor explained was medically necessary. And they've told us these things for one reason, and that is to keep what happened to them from happening to anybody else. Because if you do not have autonomy over this, if you cannot control when and how you choose to bring your children into this world and how they are raised and supported, there is no American dream.
I absolutely love the way that she framed that. I can only project how this makes women feel. I can think about it with respect to my daughter and the freedoms that I want her to be able to enjoy. But the reality of having that taken away from you and then having to subscribe to an America that's supposed to be land of the free and home of the brave is every bit as discordant as all men are created equal.
The women and men who are battling to keep us from going back to a time of desperation and shame and stone cold fear, they are the new freedom fighters. And make no mistake, they are the best of America. I want to talk now about somebody who's not with us tonight. Tessie Prevost Williams was born in New Orleans not long after the Supreme Court ruled that segregated public schools were unconstitutional. That was in 1954, same year I was born. But I didn't have to head to first grade at the all-white McDonough 19 school with a U.S. Marshal by my side like Tessie did. And when I got to school, the building wasn't empty like it was for Tessie. You see, rather than allowing McDonough to be integrated, parents pulled their kids out of the school, leaving only Tessie and two other little black girls, Gail Etienne and Leona Tate, to sit in a classroom with the windows papered over to block snipers from attacking their 6-year-old bodies. Tessie passed away 6 weeks ago. And I tell this story to honor her tonight because she like Ruby Bridges and her friends, Leona and Gail, the New Orleans Four they were called. They broke barriers and they paid dearly for it.
That was so powerful. And I just, more stories like that need to be told. I alluded to this in the video about Reggie Jackson, the struggles of previous generations, especially those that are still with us. Just think about how much less than that people have to endure. And we talk about the psychological trauma that persists for years and maybe even decades down the road. These are people who went through things like that, and we don't even consider or give real conscious thought to how they might have been impacted. We know the Ruby Bridges, but we don't know so many of them, and they all deserve our acknowledgement, and they all deserve our appreciation.
But it was the grace and guts and courage of women like Tessie Prevost Williams that paved the way for another young girl who 9 years later became part of the second class to integrate the public schools in Berkeley, California. And it seems to me that at school and at home, somebody did a beautiful job of showing this young girl how to challenge the people at the top and empower the people at the bottom. They showed her how to look at the world and see not just what is, but what can be. They instilled in her a passion for justice and freedom and the glorious fighting spirit necessary to pursue that passion. And soon, and very soon,
we are going to see the king soon and very... Sorry, my bad. It's involuntary.
Soon and very soon, we're going to be teaching our daughters and sons about how this child of an Indian mother and a Jamaican father, two idealistic, energetic immigrants, how this child grew up to become the 47th President of the United States. That is the best of America. You know, let me tell you this. This election isn't about us and them. It's about you and me and what we want our futures to look like. There are choices to be made when we cast our ballot. Now, there's a certain candidate that says if we just go to the polls this one time, that we'll never have to do it again. Well, you know what? You're looking at a registered independent who's proud to vote again and again and again because I'm an American and that's what Americans do. Voting is the best of America.
The fact that that comment from Trump about not voting again wasn't challenged and has been widely accepted by the party who likes to claim ownership over patriotism and what is and isn't American tells you the value of those titles they bestow on themselves.
And I have always, since I was eligible to vote, I've always voted my values. And that is what is needed in this election now more than ever. So I'm calling on all you independents and all you undecideds. You know this is true. You know I'm telling you the truth, that values and character matter most of all. In leadership and in life. And more than anything, you know this is true, that decency and respect are on the ballot in 2024.
Will she sleep? She gonna be mad when she hears she missed Oprah tomorrow.
And just plain common sense. Common sense tells you that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz can give us decency and respect. They're the ones that give it to us. So, we are Americans. We are Americans. Let us choose loyalty to the Constitution over loyalty to any individual. Because that's the best of America. And let us choose optimism over cynicism, because that's the best of America. And let us choose inclusion over retribution. Let us choose common sense over nonsense.
Talk to him, Oprah. Talk to him.
Let us choose common sense over nonsense. Because that's the best of America. And let us choose the sweet promise of tomorrow over the bitter return to yesterday. We won't go back. We won't be set back, pushed back, bullied back, kicked back. We're not going back. Not going back. We're not going back. So, let us choose. Let us choose truth. Let us choose honor, and let us choose joy. Because that's the best of America. But more than anything else, let us choose freedom. Why? Because that's the best of America. We're all Americans, and together, let's all choose Kamala Harris. Thank you, Chicago. Thank you.
Man, the way she ended that looked like the most co-ed, racially diverse Oprah audience I've ever seen in my life. Touche, touche. Very well done. I got to give Oprah her flowers. That was a phenomenal speech. She did not half-step. She did not sidestep. She got way up off the fence, and she did what she needed to do. And I very much appreciate her for that. Now, it was a night full of a lot of incredible performances and a lot of incredible speeches this whole week has. Today, I'm actually going to be dropping lots of different pieces of content because I couldn't choose. There was so much good stuff to do. So be on the lookout for that. We'll have a piece on Tim Walz. We'll have a piece on Pete Buttigieg. I'll have a piece on Wes Moore and my little Maryland pride. I'm gonna put on my little crab hat. I'm gonna have a piece on Hakeem Jeffries. Doing AOC proud. I'm gonna do a little combo, New York state of mind type of thing. So keep it locked here to the channel. We'll have all your stuff. But on the way out, I would like to give a special nod to poet and activist Amanda Gorman, who was also there last night, and I want to let her close the show.
We gather at this hallowed place because we believe in the American dream. We face a race that tests if this country we cherish shall perish from the earth, and if our earth shall perish from this country. It falls to us to ensure that we do not fall, for a people that cannot stand together cannot stand at all. We are one family, regardless of religion, class, or color. For what defines a patriot is not just our love of liberty, but our love for one another. This is loud in our country's call because while we all love freedom, it is love that frees us all. Empathy emancipates, making us greater than hate or vanity. That is the American promise, powerful and pure. Divided, we cannot endure, but united, we can endeavor to humanize our democracy and endear democracy to humanity. And make no mistake, cohering is the hardest task history ever wrote. But tomorrow is not written by our odds of hardship, but by the audacity of our hope, by the vitality of our vote. Only now, approaching this rare air, are we aware that perhaps the American dream is no dream at all, but instead a dare to dream together. Like a million roots tethered, branching up humbly, making one tree. This is our country, from many won, from battles won, our freedoms sung, our kingdom come has just begun. We redeem this sacred scene, ready for our journey from it. Together, we must birth this early republic and achieve an unearthly summit. Let us not just believe in the American dream, let us be worthy of it. Thank you.
Sincere thanks to everybody who's reached out to me and submitted suggestions for videos. Keep them coming. I take submissions for ideas for a video, suggestions for Racist of the Week. If you have something that just troubles you, or you just want to send me a note, because I love getting those notes, go ahead and shoot me an email at reese@reesewaters.com. I also have a newsletter that I send out periodically, so you'll be receiving that as well. You can also sign up on my website, reesewaters.com.
Kamala's
you had it right. You almost got it.
I will say Kamala's name any way that I want to.
When you disrespect Kamala Harris by saying you will call her whatever you want, I know you don't intend it to be that way. That's the history and legacy of white disregard for the humanity of black people.
Oh, so now you're calling me racist.
I didn't.
Welcome to Racist of the Week. My name is Reese Waters. This is where we expose the stupidity and hypocrisy of discrimination in hopes we can build a more perfect union. And also laugh. As usual, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Racism. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. You can also feel free to send me any nominees or any comments that you have about this video to my email, reese@reesewaters.com. Today's nominee, South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Now, I've been wanting to get at Nancy Mace for a while.
And Maria, I've said this many times on your program. I represent a very purple district. 40% or more of my voters are independent. They're not affiliated with Republicans or Democrats. I'm going to rebrand Tim Walz's Tampon Tim, because you cannot say Hunter without saying Biden.
But it kept getting put off for more relevant congressional members. You know, it's kind of like the same reason why you haven't responded to all those messages in your spam folder. But as a noted philosopher once say, today I got time, cuz.
Today I got time, cuz.
She joined a CNN panel including Michael Eric Dyson and Keith Boykin, both of whom I thoroughly enjoy, and boy, were I glad they were there. Let's start hot.
And Kamala's.
Oh, you had it right. You almost got it.
I will say Kamala's name any way that I want to.
No, but you mispronounced her and you also misjudged her.
I just did, and I'll do it again.
Mispronouncing her name.
That's a refusal to acknowledge her humanity.
If I purposely mispronounced your name, that would not be appropriate.
Policies.
Now, this little tidbit was prefaced by a bunch of discussions about sexism, so that had already been laid on the table. And here we have her very intentionally mispronouncing Kamala Harris's name. Now, I actually talked about this on my live a few weeks ago about the fact that there is not a vice president or a presumptive nominee that I can think of that we ever regularly refer to by their first name. I used to like to say Mitt a lot, because when do you ever get a chance to say Mitt? But here we have her actually saying it right and correcting herself and saying it wrong.
And Kamala's.
Oh, you had it right. You almost got it.
I will say Kamala's name any way that I want to.
And following that up with, I can pronounce her name however I choose to pronounce her name. Now, seeing as how we have taken sexism off the table, why would that be? Why would that be? You know, you being an advocate for women and all, why would you feel that you can just disparage her by mispronouncing her name intentionally? And I'm not going to get all gassed up about it, because if a bird flies and chirps, why would you be shocked? I am curious how your in-state legislator Tim Scott, who asserted that racism was in fact over and it was the reinvention of the Southern heart, was that it?
I think it's exciting, no matter the outcome. It's the evolution of the Southern heart that we see on display. And we Southerners get so little credit for the progress we've made. The whole notion of judging a person on the content of their character, not the color of their skin, has happened. It's not going to happen. It's not around the corner. It's in the rearview mirror. We are living Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream.
Well, this new Southern heart is making a very clumsy, intentional point to mispronounce Kamala Harris's name. So, Tim, I don't know if you're still out on the imaginary honeymoon, but you might want to come back and weigh in on this.
A woman talking about women in the way he does. I'm asking you directly. When you see him direct such venomous rhetoric against this woman, not principled disagreement, do you find that problematic? And if you don't, you've helped normalize a practice that is vicious and misogynistic.
Look,
regardless, women can be misogynistic.
Let me let Carson I am a woman who has broken a lot of glass ceilings, and I have fought my way to have a seat at the table, and I wouldn't back someone that I thought was a misogynist, and I fully backed Donald Trump in 2020.
All right, I want to play.
So her answer to that is, I don't think he's a misogynist. That's your defense? That is your defense? If you were following that conversation, Michael Eric Dyson said women can be misogynist too, to which she responds, I have fought my way through a lot of glass ceilings for a seat at the table, and no, I ain't gonna say nothing. I mean, he literally telegraphed your play.
Michael.
That sounds like self-hatred and justification of white supremacy. And let me just say this. Because this Congresswoman is a wonderful human being.
She's a wonderful human being, has all the validity of you picked the right one. Or if you like it, I love it.
But when you disrespect Kamala Harris by saying you will call her whatever you want, I know you don't intend it to be that way.
Now, Michael, I'm gonna stop you right there. She absolutely intends it to be that way. She 1,000% intends it to be that way. There's no way she didn't intend it to be that way.
That sounds like self-hatred and justification of white supremacy. And let me just say this, because this Congresswoman is a wonderful human being, but when you disrespect Kamala Harris by saying you will call her whatever you want, I know you don't intend it to be that way. That's the history and legacy of white disregard for the humanity of black people.
So now you're calling me racist.
I didn't say, I just said you weren't a
BS.
racist.
That is complete
No, you don't have to intend racism to accomplish
you are intending.
She intended it and accomplished it. And it's rare that you actually get a chance to get full video in 4K with sound and everything of somebody both throwing the rock and hiding their hand. We saw you intentionally correct yourself to mispronounce her name, and now, when accused of racism, because what other reason would there be for that? We've taken sexism off the table because you fought your way through all those glass ceilings. Remember? So now that we have taken that off the table, now when accused of racism, oh, so now I'm racist. Oh, you think the louder that you say, so now I'm racist, makes you not racist? Is that what you think? If only I would have known that when I was a kid. Did you steal money out my purse? Oh, so now I stole money out your purse.
I just said you weren't a racist.
That is complete
You don't have to intend racism to accomplish
No, you are intending that I am
Your disrespect of Kamala Harris is part and parcel of a tradition of disrespect.
Why can't you just, Congresswoman, why can't you just,
I'm not calling you a racist, I'm telling you what the practice is racist.
You absolutely are.
Disrespecting, no, what's disgusting is your disrespect of her.
Professor,
this gentleman said, I didn't know her name, he's trying to do it.
Is her disrespect of women. She doesn't know what a woman is, and if 25 years ago,
white women don't have the ability to tell black women who paid the price of blood to make this country what it is, to tell them they're not real women.
25 years ago,
they care for your babies.
25 years ago, I became the first woman to graduate from the Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina. I fought my way through it.
So pronounce her name right.
Let me actually pronounce her name right. Kamala Harris.
Kamala.
You
said this. We don't call you Nancy. It's Kamala. You're doing this on purpose, Congresswoman.
That's disrespectful.
You can't expect people to respect your service if you don't respect hers.
Walked that stage 25 years ago.
You're a white woman disrespecting a black woman.
That is away from women.
But because you have fought tooth and nail through the Citadel and broken all those glass ceilings, you feel free to disparage other women. However, where are all these other women that you disparage? I'll wait. It's Kamala Harris. Oh, Kamala Harris, who you feel comfortable disparaging. That's curious.
I certainly take that, but I'm wondering.
And a lot of rich history comes out of my district in South Carolina that I'm deeply proud of.
With respect.
Trump injecting Vice President Harris's race and then suggesting that she's not actually black. Why is he doing that? Should he stop?
Well, I mean,
yes or no?
I didn't hear him say it. I didn't hear what he said about her race. I am not going to weigh in on her race. As a woman,
He did say it.
Okay, well, as a
woman,
I want to weigh in.
She turned black, he said. He said she was raised Indian. Now she was Indian, all he knew. Now she turned black.
Well, she's a mixed race, She's a mixed race.
He said that to the National Association of Black Journalists.
Right.
He went to, and he said at the same event where he said he'd done more for black people than any president in history.
I guess here's the thing.
When he was president, wages for women were better than they've been in a long time. Wages for blacks were better than they've been in a long time.
The lowest black unemployment rate in history. It happened under Joe Biden.
He did a lot of good.
Let me just finish this
to
both of you.
From all walks of the country.
This doesn't take that much courage, honestly, to just say that was out of bounds.
Well, I'm gonna stop you right there, Abby. It actually does take a lot of courage because they're not gonna let her back into the compound, and she probably not gonna be able to eat for weeks if she speaks against the leader. So, you know.
I don't know what he said. I didn't see
He
the
said
interview.
that she turned black. He questioned whether she was really black. I don't think that's that hard to say. That's out of bounds. Can you say that?
I mean, I didn't say it, and I would not
just
say it.
yes. Just say yes. Just say yes.
I just
Guys,
we are connected to your inability to pronounce her name.
We are out of
It's
time.
a very.
We are out of time.
It's a cult. They won't say anything that goes against the cult.
Are
Yes,
you
you are.
kidding?
You are.
Well, Nancy, you can't have it both ways. I just defended you for not having the courage to speak out about something that was clearly wrong because you're in a cult. Like you can't. You got to pick one.
I just think this whole conversation is hilarious because Project 2025, first of all, it is the Republican Party. It represents.
It is not true.
First of all,
not true.
It comes from.
You're going to tell me what my party believes?
Let me just say this. It was created by Republican Party operatives, including former Trump administration officials. And what's so funny about this whole conversation to me is that Democrats have been so successful in branding this.
Because they got nothing else to run on.
It's so successful that every Republican is now afraid of their own policies because their policies are toxic.
Running away from Project 2025 is about as effective as questioning Kamala Harris's ethnicity. I mean, we already have the receipts. We have the J.D. Vance forward. We have the officials in the training video. We have the speeches for the Heritage Foundation. We already got it. Y'all just messed up because y'all couldn't decide if Project 2025 was a legislative wife or a legislative side piece. Y'all chose to bring the legislative side piece to the wedding, and now you're mad that all the photos getting plastered all over social media and you didn't want nobody to know about it. Well, that's your fault.
2025.
do we have to
and you're going
say
to tell me that's my party platform. My Republican Party platform was rolled out by Donald Trump a few weeks
I understand
ago,
what the
and it
official,
supports
what the
women.
quote-unquote official platform is, but the reality is that the people who created this platform are the people who were working in the
reality is that you have nothing to run on, you have no policy, and you have to lie
The
about
reality
ours.
is that you're afraid of your own policies because you know it's unpopular.
It's a lie.
Eliminating the Department of Education is an unpopular thing to do.
Because I want to give Gretchen.
What you just said is not true.
Trump just said Trump wants to do the exact same thing Project 2025 wants to do.
Not.
He wants to eliminate the Department of Education. He just said so this week.
Okay, Nancy Mace, he in fact did say that this week.
And what I'm going to do, one of the first acts, and this is where I need an Elon Musk, I need somebody that has a lot of strength and courage and smarts. I want to close up Department of Education, move education back to the states, where states like Iowa, where states like Idaho, not every state will do great.
However, Keith Boykin, she might have been in the waiting room. Yeah, she might have been one of the billions of people that was unable to listen to the conversation live.
But what's stupid is allowing people, criminals, to go into stores in California and not being able to arrest them unless it's $900 or $950 and more.
The problem is that that's not actually what's true.
And you see
That's not
videos
actually
of
what the
people
law is.
going into stores in these blue cities and blue states, stealing merchandise and not being stopped. We've all seen these videos.
So should Donald Trump not be allowed to go into a store because he's a convicted criminal?
I don't think.
I had so many comebacks, but Keith, that was better than anything I had. That was solid. Did you know there is no shoplifting in red states? They're not going to be happy you just told everybody they open for business. I was just watching a documentary about a bank robber. I actually thought it was incredible that they had the courage to go in there and rob a bank. Little did I know the fact that they were allowed to walk free just meant that it was okay.
They've abandoned the working people of America. They've abandoned the middle. They've now been taken over by California liberals who want the Green New Deal, electric cars, ban plastic straws. She wants to take away red meat. They're now going to institute government.
Are you saying that because you're associating her with?
No, those are the things she said. These are the things that she's all campaigned for. These are all the things that
take away red meat.
Kamala has campaigned for: reducing the red meat, banning plastic straws, the Green New Deal. She's now talking about government price controls for groceries. She wants government housing. She's going to tell you where you have to live. These are all part of her radical socialist
there is government.
policies.
Government housing already exists.
Also, this dude was there, and After this, I know he wish he wasn't. Man, I can't wait to see the reaction back in MAGA land.
Virtually 100% of the net job creation in the last year has gone to migrants. You know that? Most of the job creation has gone to migrants. In fact, I've heard that substantially more than beyond the number of 100%. It's a much higher number than that, but the government hasn't caught up with that yet.
Wait a minute, I created this job in the last year. Does that make me a migrant?
And when they find out, I think you're going to see something. But right now, even not knowing her, and with all of like the cover of Time magazine, they didn't put a picture. They got a great artist to do it. What was that all about? You know, what was that all about? The whole thing is crazy.
Time magazine. I haven't seen anybody be this triggered by a magazine cover since I first saw the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue when I was 8. I'm going to go ahead and need you, for the good of the country, to put out a gang more covers. I'm talking about like every other day. And it just have kids send in photos of Kamala Harris. It triggers him to a degree that has given me so much entertainment.
I have to say, Miriam, I watched Sheldon sitting so proud in the White House when we gave Miriam the Presidential Medal of Freedom. That's the highest award you can get as a civilian. It's the equivalent of the Congressional Medal of Honor, but civilian version. It's actually much better because everyone gets the Congressional Medal of Honor. That's soldiers. They're either in very bad shape because they've been hit so many times by bullets, or they're dead. She gets it, and she's a healthy, beautiful woman.
If this how they acting before the DNC even start, it's gonna be a hot one. Sincere thanks to everybody who's reached out to me and submitted suggestions for videos. Keep them coming. I take submissions for ideas for a video, suggestions for Racist of the Week. If you have something that just troubles you, or you just want to send me a note, because I love getting those notes, go ahead and shoot me an email at reese@reesewaters.com. I also have a newsletter that I send out periodically, so you'll be receiving that as well. You can also sign up on my website, reesewaters.com.
For years, Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hard-working, highly educated, successful people who happen to be black. Wait. I want to know, who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs?
Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Now, y'all remember the first time we heard from Michelle Obama? A speech so good, it was studied from people all over the world who would then come here to America and deliver it as their own.
Barack and I were raised with so many of the same values.
That you work hard for what you want.
You work hard for what you want.
That your word is your bond.
That your word is your bond. That you do what you say you're going to do. That you treat people
with respect.
With dignity and respect, even if you don't know them, and even if you don't agree with them.
And
Barack and I set out to build lives guided by these values and to pass them on to the next generation, because we want our children and all children in this nation to know that the only limit to the height of your achievements is the reach of your dreams and your willingness to work hard for them.
And your willingness to work for them.
Well, naturally in 2024, when looking at the deep bench on the Democratic roster, You had to save a spot for Michelle Obama, and she set it off.
Something wonderfully magical is in the air, isn't it? Yeah. You know, we're feeling it here in this arena, but it's spreading all across this country we love. A familiar feeling that's been buried too deep for far too long. You know what I'm talking about. It's the contagious power of hope.
What a perfect word. Hope being something that is synonymous with the Obamas. Of course, he wrote The Audacity of Hope, and he centered a lot of his political rise around that word, hope. It also speaks to the feeling that a lot of Democrats feel rejuvenated now that Kamala's on the ticket, something that they thought was only possible if Michelle Obama was the one who was running. She was people's only hope for a long time.
The anticipation, the energy, the exhilaration of once again being on the cusp of a brighter day. The chance to vanquish the demons of fear, division, and hate that have consumed us and continue pursuing the unfinished promise of this great nation, the dream that our parents and grandparents fought and died and sacrificed for. America, hope is making a comeback.
Yes, it is. And you know what? So is Kamala Harris. Also, apparently, so is spam calls and texts. What's going on?
Kamala Harris and I built our lives on those same foundational values. Even though our mothers grew up an ocean apart, they shared the same belief in the promise of this country. That's why her mother moved here from India at 19. It's why she taught Kamala about justice, about the obligation to lift others up, about our responsibility to give more than we take. She'd often tell her daughter, "Don't sit around and complain about things. Do something."
We shared that in common. My mama couldn't catch us sitting around. I don't care if we just got finished cutting the whole grass. Don't get caught sitting down. They might as well have just taken all the chairs out of our house. I don't know what they was for.
So, with that voice in her head, Kamala went out and she worked hard in school, graduating from an HBCU, earning her law degree at a state school. And then she went on to work for the people, fighting to hold lawbreakers accountable, strengthening the rule of law, fighting to get folks better wages, cheaper prescription drugs, a good education, decent health care, child care, elder care. From a middle-class household, Kamala worked her way up to become Vice President of the United States of America. My girl.
Not just your girl. Should be America's girl. That sounds suspiciously like the American dream that the patriots love to promise so often.
Kamala Harris is more than ready for this moment. She is one of the most qualified people ever to seek the office of the presidency. And she is one of the most dignified. A tribute to her mother, to my mother, and to your mother too. The embodiment of the stories we tell ourselves about this country. Her story is your story. It's my story. It's the story of the vast majority of Americans trying to build a better life.
She's right about that. Yet somehow they find a way not to identify with Kamala Harris. I wonder why that is. It must be the laugh. Yeah, that's it.
Look, Kamala knows, like we do, that regardless of where you come from, what you look like, who you love, how you worship, or what's in your bank account, We all deserve the opportunity to build a decent life. All of our contributions deserve to be accepted and valued. Because no one has a monopoly on what it means to be an American. No one.
I absolutely love that she said this. It's something that I've alluded to a few times, most recently in my video about the plot out there to subvert our democracy come Election Day 2024. It is wild to me that no matter how un-American and anti-democratic that some MAGAs may be, they still claim to have the market cornered on patriotism. Who is a patriot and who isn't? And that is patently unacceptable. This was also the point in the speech where my wife claimed that Michelle Obama was arm goals. And once she mentioned her arms, I could not see it. She's arm goals.
Kamala has shown her allegiance to this nation, not by spewing anger and bitterness, but by living a life of service and always pushing the doors of opportunity open to others. She understands that most of us will never be afforded the grace of failing forward. We will never benefit from the affirmative action of generational wealth.
Hey, Michelle, say it again for those in the back.
We will never benefit from the affirmative action of generational wealth.
Now say it again for those in the bathroom.
We will never benefit from the affirmative action of generational wealth.
The affirmative action of generational wealth. Woo! You gave me a word right there. You gave me a word right there. Tell me you racist without telling me you racist. Let me get this straight. We want to do away with programs that are trying to address societal discrimination going back decades, no, centuries, that has disenfranchised people of color. But we want to make sure your money still goes as far as it used to.
If we bankrupt a business or choke in a crisis, we don't get a second, third, or fourth chance.
How many times did Trump go bankrupt? I think it was more than 4.
If we bankrupt a business or choke in a crisis, we don't get a second, third, or fourth chance. If things don't go our way, we don't have the luxury of whining or cheating others to get further ahead. No. We don't get to change the rules so we always win. If we see a mountain in front of us, we don't expect there to be an escalator waiting to take us to the top. No.
This was amazing. Now, I've already alluded to the fact that Kamala Harris essentially embodies what they claim the American dream is, yet they find a way not to identify with her in exchange for a man who was given said generational wealth, generally running into the ground and managed to still run afoul of the law. Donnie, what I have here is a gift that will allow you to live a life of luxury until the end of your days. Not only that, you will never have to cross another human being or cross the law. You will be just fine. All you have to do is keep this train on the tracks. Just don't mess it up. Even if you mess up, we will still ensure that you get chance after chance after chance. Well, I appreciate that, Father, and while I acknowledge the great gift that you have given me and the fact I have absolutely no reason to run afoul of the law, I still don't want the darkies to have nothing.
We put our heads down. We get to work. In America, we do something. And throughout her entire life, that's what we've seen from Kamala Harris. the steel of her spine, the steadiness of her upbringing, the honesty of her example, and yes, the joy of her laughter and her light. It couldn't be more obvious. Of the two major candidates in this race, only Kamala Harris truly understands the unseen labor and unwavering commitment that has always made America great.
Actually, Michelle, I would say seen or unseen labor. He don't know none of it.
Now, unfortunately, we know what comes next. We know folks are going to do everything they can to distort her truth. My husband and I sadly know a little something about this. For years, Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hardworking, highly educated, successful people who happen to be black.
And you know what? He clearly isn't the only one. That's what the DEI label is for.
Wait. I want to know. Who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs?
This is where you make that stink face, like you listening to a Charlie Parker jam session or a Mos Def freestyle. That was nasty. It was at this point in the speech that I actually became angry, thinking about how incredible Michelle Obama is and the treatment that she has received from the public. You forget when you're bombarded with memes, trolling, and bull, just how dynamic and amazing of a person Michelle Obama is. That's who they're treating like that. And don't think I didn't connect the dots from the first lady of the first black president asserting that the Oval Office is in fact a black job. Well done.
It's his same old con. His same old con. Doubling down on ugly, misogynistic, racist lies as a substitute for real ideas and solutions that will actually make people's lives better.
Just think about how the Obamas have been treated over the years by Fox News, the GOP, the MAGA movement. And to come back with this level of perspective, just the acceptance that this is an element of society that cannot be eradicated but must be tolerated and accepted in order for us to move forward. We have to transcend this. We have been dealing with this for so long that we're no longer shocked by it. We're not downtrodden by it. We're not beaten down by it. Oh, but we can beat it down.
Look, because cutting our health care, taking away our freedom to control our bodies, the freedom to become a mother through IVF like I did, those things are not going to improve the health outcomes of our wives, mothers, and daughters. Shutting down the Department of Education, banning our books, none of that will prepare our kids for the future. Demonizing our children for being who they are and loving who they love. Look, that doesn't make anybody's life better. Instead, it only makes us small. And let me tell you this, going small is never the answer. Going small is the opposite of what we teach our kids. Going small is petty, it's unhealthy, and quite frankly, it's unpresidential.
Oh, he's gonna be triggered by that. He's gonna be triggered by that. I like it. I like it.
So, why would any of us accept this from anyone seeking our highest office? Why would we normalize that type of backward leadership? Doing so only demeans and cheapens our politics. It only serves to further discourage good, big-hearted people from wanting to get involved at all.
I actually talked about this in my Jasmine Crockett piece. She told her story about being disillusioned with the dysfunction of Congress. And I talked about myself being disillusioned with politics once upon a time in the early 2000s. The link will be in the description. Check it out if you can. Because apparently there is no time in the new millennia where MAGA won't behave in such a way to discourage people from wanting to even speak to them. Even if it's for a check. That really must be what the job is. Because you think they're hiring you to be one of our legislators and to be entrusted with our democracy. No, they actually are just paying you to deal with these lunatics. It's like a right-wing daycare.
As we embrace this renewed sense of hope, let us not forget the despair we have felt. Let us not forget what we are up against. Yes, Kamala and Tim are doing great now. We're loving it. They're packing arenas across the country. Folks are energized. We are feeling good. But remember, there are still so many people who are desperate for a different outcome, who are ready to question and criticize every move Kamala makes, who are eager to spread those lies, who don't want to vote for a woman, who will continue to prioritize building their wealth over ensuring that everyone has enough. So no matter how good we feel tonight or tomorrow or the next day, this is going to be an uphill battle. So folks, we cannot be our own worst enemies. No. See, because the minute something goes wrong, the minute a lie takes hold, folks, we cannot start wringing our hands. We cannot get a Goldilocks complex about whether everything is just right. And we cannot indulge our anxieties about whether this country will elect someone like Kamala instead of doing everything we can to get someone like Kamala elected.
Now, this is wisdom from somebody that can only come from inside the Obama campaign, because if you are of my age or older and you were around in 2008, I remember the power of Obama's campaign. I remember how motivated I felt. I remember how on fire I felt. I remember how much this felt like a completely different time in America. And I also remember the pessimism of thinking I have to entrust them to vote for a black man. But that is not the mindset you have the privilege of adopting if you're doing the work to get that person elected. And if not for the conviction for people like that, it wouldn't have happened in 2008.
To stand up, not just for our basic freedoms, but for decency and humanity, for basic respect, dignity, and empathy, for the values at the very foundation of this democracy. It's up to us to remember what Kamala's mother told her. Don't just sit around and complain. Do something.
Stand up for decency, humanity, and empathy. We have devolved to a point where we have to stand up, and we do, for decency, humanity, and empathy. Thanks, GOP. While we're on the topic of decency, humanity, and empathy, Michelle Obama has a 100 out of 100 First Lady rating on 2K. Like a 100 out of 100. She is relatable. She communicates extremely well. She's extremely charismatic. She's funny. She has an incredible story. Oh, she's a mother. She don't have a crazy laugh. All this other nonsense they like to toss out there. She is a 100 out of 100. Yet they claim that Melania, who was on Backpage, is First Lady goals. Word? The incredible thing that she said about how inconceivable it is for them to think of a black person educated and free thinking really applies to how they have been received, because there is no quality that she does not embody that you would want in a first lady or a president for that matter, because I can't think of another first lady you would ask to speak 8 years later. You think they asking Melania to speak in 2032? I wonder where Laura Bush was at during the RNC. If you created the perfect first lady in a lab, it would be Michelle Obama. And America's unwillingness to accept her as such, even with your ideological differences, leaves you nowhere to go but racism. Nowhere to go but racism. Her greatness stripped away all other possibilities.
So, if they lie about her, and they will, we've got to do something. If we see a bad poll, and we will, we got to put down that phone and do something. If we start feeling tired, if we start feeling that dread creeping back in, we got to pick ourselves up, throw water on our face, and what? We only have 2.5 months, y'all, to get this done. Consider this to be your official ask. Michelle Obama is asking you, no, I'm telling y'all to do something. Because you all.
If Michelle Obama asked me to do something, I'm doing it. I'm sorry. I feel bad for Sasha and Malia because I can't bring myself to talk back to her. You got it.
This election is going to be close. In some states, just a handful, listen to me, a handful of votes in every precinct could decide the winner. So we need to vote in numbers that erase any doubt. We need to overwhelm any effort to suppress us. Our fate is in our hands. In 77 days, we have the power to turn our country away from the fear, division, and smallness of the past. We have the power to marry our hope with our action. We have the power to pay forward the love, sweat, and sacrifice of our mothers and fathers and all those who came before us. We did it before, y'all, and we sure can do it again. Let us work like our lives depend on it. And let us keep moving our country forward and go higher, yes, always higher than we've ever gone before as we elect the next president and vice president of the United States, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Thank you all. God bless.
That was absolutely incredible. I mean, that was absolutely incredible. It is amazing to think that somebody can be this dynamic and she isn't even the elected official. That is how far over the bar we have to be. Not that that would prevent you from complaining or trying to degrade her accomplishments, because Lord knows nothing can stop you from trying to do that. Huh? Oh, she's not finished?
Now, before I go, I have one more job tonight. Yeah, one more job. You all, thank you for all the love, but it is now my honor to introduce somebody who knows a whole lot about hope. Someone who has spent his life strengthening our democracy, and let me tell you, as someone who lives with him, he wakes up every day, and thinks about what's best for this country. Please welcome America's 44th president and the love of my life, Barack Obama.
Oh no, that's gonna be a whole nother video. It's coming at you very soon. The link will be in the description when it's ready. Sincere thanks to everybody who's reached out to me and submitted suggestions for videos. Keep them coming. I take submissions for ideas for a video, suggestions for Racist of the Week. If you have something that just troubles you, or you just want to send me a note, because I love getting those notes, go ahead and shoot me an email at reese@reesewaters.com. I also have a newsletter that I send out periodically, so you'll be receiving that as well. You can also sign up on my website, reesewaters.com. Hi, my name is Reese Waters. If you're a right-winger, a MAGA, if you have a Trump flag, mud flaps, t-shirt, hat, and you have encountered Pete Buttigieg, you may be entitled to compensation. Hi, welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. It is time that we as a family talked about Pete Buttigieg.
Whether we're talking about choice and her stance on defending a woman's right to choose versus Donald Trump, who eliminated a right to choose in this country.
Well, he sent it back to the states, to be fair.
Let's be very clear. He is proud of the fact that he demolished the national right to choose in this country, period.
But there are states that are figuring this out. I mean, there are some that are, I mean, it's nearly impossible, a 6-week ban or less. But there are others, there are states in this country that allow no restrictions up until the due date of a child.
There was a national right to choose in this country, law of the land, for 50 years, which the vast majority of Americans believed was the right thing to do. But Donald Trump made a promise when he was a candidate, one of the few promises he actually kept, by the way. You know, he didn't keep his promise of 6% economic growth. He didn't keep his promise to drain the swamp.
He did have a pandemic to deal with.
Well, but even before the pandemic, even before the pandemic, America went into a manufacturing recession, which really hurt places like where I come from in the industrial Midwest. But anyway, my point is, he broke his promise for that kind of economic growth. He broke his promise to pass an infrastructure bill, right? He said he would do that. He failed to do it. The Biden-Harris administration got it done. He even broke his promise to that January 6th mob when he said, I will be at your side when you march down to the Capitol. But he actually did keep 2 promises. He kept his promise to destroy the right to choose in this country, and he kept his promise on tax cuts for the rich. And if you want to know what a second Trump term would be like, I would start by looking at those rare promises that he actually managed to keep.
He did say that he wanted to get rid of Roe v. Wade, but again, send it to the states where they are hashing this out
empower the states to eliminate women's access to abortion. And also, as you know, the Republican Party continues to be interested in a national abortion ban.
Which he's disavowed completely.
Yeah, he's disavowed a lot of things. I don't believe him. Because he lies all the time.
You think that his pledge that he would not pass a national ban is one that...
It's one that's going to go down with most of the promises that he's made and broken.
That man is a savage. He is the Democrats' version of Debo. You just send him in there when somebody need their head cracked. If I'm hosting a show and I see Pete Buttigieg listed on the guest list, I'm going to go ahead and send out my resume. It's time to get on Indeed. That man is dangerous.
Your husband tweeted after Justice Brett Kavanaugh left a Washington restaurant due to protesters. The tweet reads, "Sounds like he just wanted some privacy to make his own dining decisions." Is that appropriate, sir?
Look, when public officials go into public life, we should expect two things. One, you should always be free from violence, harassment, and intimidation. And two, you're never going to be free from criticism or peaceful protest, people exercising their First Amendment rights. Okay. And that's what happened in this case. Remember, the justice never even came into contact with these protesters, reportedly didn't see or hear them. And these protesters are upset because a right, an important right, that the majority of Americans support was taken away. Understood. Not only the right to choose, by the way, but this justice was part of the process of stripping away the right to privacy. As long as I've been alive, settled case law in the United States has been that the Constitution protected a right to privacy, and that has now been thrown out the window by justices, including Justice Kavanaugh, who, as I recall, swore up and down in front of God and everyone, including the United States Congress, that they were going to leave settled case law alone. So yes, people are upset. They're going to exercise their First Amendment rights. And as long as that's peaceful, that's protected. Compare that, for example, to the reality that as a country, right now, we're reckoning with the fact that a mob summoned by the former president
All right, well, let me follow up, Mr. Secretary.
attacked the United States Capitol for the purpose of overthrowing the election and very nearly succeeded in preventing the peaceful transfer of power. But I think common sense can tell the difference.
But as a high-profile public figure, sir, are you comfortable with protesters protesting when you and your husband go to dinner at a restaurant?
Protesting peacefully outside in a public space? Sure. Look, I can't even tell you the number of spaces, venues, and scenarios where I've been protested. And the bottom line is this. Any public figure should always, always be free from violence, intimidation, and harassment, but should never be free from criticism or people exercising their First Amendment rights.
So naturally, you knew he was going to bring it at the DNC.
Pete Buttigieg.
Here's a sentence I never thought I'd hear myself saying. I'm Pete Buttigieg, and you might recognize me from Fox News.
He be walking onto Fox News like Omar from The Wire. Hey, Laura Ingraham. Hey, Pete, Mayor Pete coming. Mayor Pete coming. That man got the whole roster's heads on his wall. You know, just like Rupert Murdoch.
I believe in going anywhere, in service of a good cause, and friends, we gather in a very good cause, electing Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, the next president and vice president of the United States. The choice could not be clearer. Donald Trump rants about law and order, as if he wasn't a convicted criminal running against a prosecutor. As if we were going to forget that crime was higher on his watch. Talks about the forgotten man, hoping we'll forget that the only economic promise that he actually kept was to cut taxes for the rich. And don't even get me started on his new running mate.
Let him fight!
At least Mike Pence was polite. J.D. Vance is one of those guys who thinks if you don't live the life that he has in mind for you, then you don't count.
Republican women, I hope you're paying attention.
Someone who said that if you don't have kids, you have, quote, no physical commitment to the future of this country. You know, Senator, when I deployed to Afghanistan, I didn't have kids then. Many of the men and women who went outside the wire with me didn't have kids either. But let me tell you, Our commitment to the future of this country was pretty damn physical.
You ever seen somebody just savage you just in a regular tone? I mean, that's my thing about Mayor Pete. He will destroy you and his hair don't raise, his voice don't raise, his hands don't raise. He just casual drinking iced tea, destroying your life.
Choosing a guy like J.D. Vance to be America's next vice president sends a message. And the message is that they are doubling down on negativity and grievance. Committing to a concept of campaigning best summed up in one word: darkness. Darkness is what they are selling. The thing is, I just don't believe that America today is in the market for darkness. I believe America is ready for a better kind of politics. Yes, politics at its worst can be ugly, crushing, demeaning, but it doesn't have to be. At its best, politics can be empowering, uplifting. It can even be a kind of soulcraft. My faith teaches me that the world isn't made up of good people and bad people, but rather that each of us is capable of good and bad things. And I believe leaders matter because of what they bring out in each of us, the good or the bad. Right now, the other side is appealing to what is smallest within you. They're telling you that greatness comes from going back to the past. They're telling you that anyone different from you is a threat. They're telling you that your neighbor or nephew or daughter who disagrees with you politically isn't just wrong, but is now the enemy. I believe in a better politics, one that finds us at our most decent and open and brave. The kind of politics that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are offering. And as you have felt these many days, that kind of politics also just feels better to be part of. There is joy in it, as well as power.
And they know it too. That's why they love to attack the joy, because they ain't got it.
And if all of that sounds naive, let me insist that I have come to this view not by way of idealism, but by way of experience. Not just the experience of my unlikely career. Someone like me serving in Indiana, serving in Washington, serving in uniform. I'm thinking of something much more basic. I'm thinking of dinner time at our house in Michigan. When the dog is barking and the air fryer is beeping and the mac and cheese is boiling over, and it feels like all the political negotiating experience in the world is not enough for me to get our 3-year-old son and our 3-year-old daughter to just wash their hands and sit at the table.
That's that gentle parenting, Pete. That ain't gonna work no matter how good a negotiator you are. But my mama can teach you a couple things that will probably work.
It's the part of our day when politics seems the most distant. And yet the makeup of our kitchen table, the existence of my family, is just one example of something that was literally impossible as recently as 25 years ago, when an anxious teenager growing up in Indiana wondered if he would ever find belonging in this world. This kind of life went from impossible to possible, from possible to real, from real to almost ordinary in less than half a lifetime. But that didn't just happen. It was brought about through idealism and courage, through organizing and persuasion and storytelling, and yes, through politics, the right kind of politics. The kind of politics that can make an impossible dream into an everyday reality. I don't presume to know what it's like in your kitchen, but I know, as sure as I am standing here, that everything in it, the bills you pay at that table, the shape of the family that sits there, the fears and the dreams that you talk about late into the night there, all of it compels us to demand more from our politics than a rerun of some TV wrestling death match.
Did somebody say ECW? Oh, I thought I heard somebody say ECW. All right, go on.
So this November, we get to choose. We get to choose our president. We get to choose our policies, but most of all, we will choose a better politics. A politics that calls us to our better selves and offers us a better everyday. That is what Kamala Harris and Tim Walz represents. That is what Democrats represent. That is what awaits us when America decides to end Trump's politics of darkness once and for all. That is what we choose when we embrace the leaders who are out there building bridges and reject the ones who are out there banning books.
I like that last line about building bridges versus banning books. He was just two B's from Jasmine Crockett.
This is what we will work for every day to November and beyond. So let's go win this. Thank you, Democrats. Thank you.
I love that speech from Pete Buttigieg. He's somebody who deserves and will get a lot more coverage from me, along with AOC and Raphael Warnock and Wes Moore. I did not forget Hakeem Jeffries. No. I'm gonna get to you, Hakeem Jeffries. Matter of fact, I'm gonna have pieces about all of the stuff I enjoyed about the DNC. But what impressed me most about Pete Buttigieg's speech is he did all of this fresh off another Fox News savagery. I didn't know that he would have anything left to be able to make a speech and to really give himself to the audience there in Chicago after the guilt he must feel after leaving the set this last time.
Back to you, Mr. Secretary. The people that are being killed in places all over the country, they look like me, they don't look like you. And they're upset with the Democratic Party not taking it seriously. You guys sent the cavalry in.
Not taking it seriously.
Hold on, let me finish. You guys sent the cavalry. You guys sent the cavalry in for you guys for your protection. But the people of Chicago don't see that on a day-to-day basis. What are you guys gonna do to stop the bloodshed in our community?
Well, first of all, I was mayor of a city that faced that kind of pain. The toughest part of the job was dealing with gun violence, and the most heartbreaking part of the job was comforting or trying to comfort mothers who just wanted their child back. And the big question, I think, for politics, for policy, for media, is who is going to help them versus who is going to use them. The questions she's asking are the exact question any citizen should be asking, which is when you take office.
What do you mean?
Are you going to
Are you
keep your
saying that
promises?
mother is being used?
I'm saying that mother is asking the exact right question. And the question is, what are you going to actually do when you come into office? Now, we're getting a lot of people
just tell me what you guys are going to do. Just tell me what you guys are,
I'll tell you exactly
what you've
we're going to
done to stop the bloodshed.
Actually confront gun violence. 90% of Americans, more than 80% of Republicans, think we ought to at least be doing universal background checks. But Donald Trump says no. The Republican Party says no. You talk about assault weapons, something that made a difference when that assault weapons ban contributed to the reduction in crime. I remember coming to Chicago as a kid. And by the way, even though some media only want to talk about the worst and most painful things that go on in our city, Chicago is a proud city. Chicago is an extraordinary city. But I do remember coming here when crime and murder was off the charts, and the work that went on to bring it down from those levels that we saw in the past, the work that's going on to save lives right now is something that deserves the backing.
There was over 20 people shot last week, 5 people shot over the weekend.
Then why would we elect leaders who won't do anything about gun violence?
Well, it's the Democrats that run the city. Name the Republican that is in charge.
All right, but this is really important, right?
No, tell me. One Republican in charge of Chicago.
Well, hold on.
Name them.
Listen to me, because not only did we have those levels of crime under are Democratic and Republican leaders, right? But people try to cherry pick this for partisan purposes. You want to play that game?
It's not partisan.
We can talk about
As I told you, Mr. Mayor, they look like me, not you.
Yeah, and so is the case in Boston, where there is a much lower murder rate, and also a Democratic mayor. We could talk about how the murder rate in Mississippi is double what it is in Illinois. Now, I could go around saying that the murder rate in Mississippi is double what it is in Illinois because Mississippi has a Republican governor and Illinois has a Democratic governor, but you and I both know it just doesn't work that way.
I got you, Mr. Mayor.
That's that stink face you make when you see Sean Kemp dunking his prime. Just pity mixed with fear, mixed with awe. Hi, my name is Reese Waters. If you're a right-winger, a MAGA, if you have a Trump flag, mud flaps, t-shirt, hat, and you have encountered Pete Buttigieg, you may be entitled to compensation. Sincere thanks to everybody who's reached out to me and submitted suggestions for videos. Keep them coming. I take submissions for ideas for a video, suggestions for Racist of the Week. If you have something that just troubles you, or you just want to send me a note, because I love getting those notes, go ahead and shoot me an email at reese@reesewaters.com. I also have a newsletter that I send out periodically, so you'll be receiving that as well. You can also sign up on my website, reesewaters.com.
Idiotic guy was on stage with Candace Owens a few days ago and asked her, what America are we going back to make America great again? The one where women couldn't vote or black people were swinging from trees? I would say to him, if I was standing in front of him, I absolutely want to go back.
You know Byron Donald's got to be furious. He's like, y'all dragged me for weeks behind even mentioning Jim Crow. I didn't say nothing about us swinging from trees. Hi, my name is Reese Waters, and I'm troubled. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Now, let's say you were running for president and you had an old friend.
Mark Robinson. But you know, I heard him coming in on the plane. I was listening, and I said to the people on the plane, watch this. This is Martin Luther King on steroids, okay? Now, I told that to Mark. I said, I think you're better than Martin Luther King. I think you are Martin Luther King ×2.
Somebody told a lie one day.
North Carolina Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson has repeatedly mocked my father. But it's not the petty insults that bother me. It's his outright rejection of the civil rights movement my father and so many others lived and died for. Robinson called the Greensboro lunch counter protest a ridiculous premise and said so many freedoms were lost. As my father said, nothing is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity.
Man, what is his obsession with Martin Luther King?
Never see the picture of the crowd, the biggest crowd I've ever spoken. I've spoken to the biggest crowds. Nobody's spoken to crowds bigger than me. If you look at Martin Luther King, when he did his speech, his great speech, and you look at ours, same real estate, same everything, same number of people, if not, we had more. And they said he had 1 million people, but I had 25,000 people. But when you look at the exact same picture, and everything's the same because it was the fountains, the whole thing, all the way back to from Lincoln to Washington, and you look at it, and you look at the picture of his crowd, my crowd, we actually had more people. They said I had 25,000, and he had 1 million people.
Somebody told a lie one day.
I think that's it. Because MLK said somebody told a lie one day, and then Trump saw it as his own personal prophecy.
Donald Trump took a break from taking a break to put on some pants and host a
Press conference slashed out, public meltdown. It goes on. We have a lot to say about it. Here are some initial thoughts with more to come. He hasn't campaigned all week. He isn't going to a single swing state this week. But he sure is mad at Kamala Harris and Tim Walz that they're getting big crowds across the battlegrounds. The facts were hard to track and harder to find in Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago meltdown this afternoon. He lied. He attacked the media. He made excuses for why he's off the campaign trail. We're here to help because his staff clearly isn't. But first, an important reminder on the question Donald didn't answer. How will he vote on the Florida abortion referendum? He's been ducking this question since April. We work to pin down reality so Donald Trump, bless his heart, doesn't have to. Here are the facts. Quote, we had 12,000 and 15,000 people in Wisconsin and Michigan yesterday, respectively, not 2,000. The ABC debate is September 10th, not the 25th. People have spoken to bigger crowds than Donald Trump, Obama, Clinton, literally anyone at Lollapalooza, Coachella, and the World Cup. January 6th was decidedly nothing like MLK's I Have a Dream speech, and Trump did not get a bigger crowd than Martin Luther King Jr. on that historic day. There was famously not a peaceful transfer of power after the 2020 election, which Donald Trump fought to overturn, famously. 5 police officers died because of January 6th. Donald Trump said he was off the trail this week because of the Democratic convention. The convention is not happening this week. Trump said they have commercials at a level no one else does. He's being drastically outspent on the airwaves. Governor Josh Shapiro is actually a great guy. Project 2025 author Tom Homan, the father of Trump's cruel child separation policy, is not a person to praise. Jewish people should not have their head examined for not supporting him. That's actually anti-Semitic. Trump said he's not complaining. He is, in fact, very much complaining. It goes on and on. It is the fact check America's been waiting for.
Well, let's say you were running for president and you had an old friend,
Mark Robinson.
And that friend, in an election where you're trying to attract female voters, repeatedly disparaged women.
This idiotic guy was on stage with Candace Owens a few days ago and asked her, what America are we going back to make America great again? The one where women couldn't vote or black people were swinging from trees? I would say to him, if I was standing in front of him, I absolutely want to go back to the America where women couldn't vote.
Getting ready to get in trouble. Called to be led by men. God sent women out when he was supposed to do, when they had to do that thing. But when it was time to face down Goliath, sent David, not Devita, David.
Everybody knows that abortion in this country is not about protecting the lives of mothers. It is about convenience. It is about abortion on demand. That is exactly what it's about. It's about killing a child because you weren't responsible enough to keep your skirt down.
You know, I've thought about this a lot, Jeff, and, you know, if I had all the power right now, let's say I was the governor, I had a willing legislature, we could pass a bill and say you can't have an abortion in North Carolina for any reason.
Wait a minute. Play that first clip again.
This idiotic guy was on stage with Candace Owens a few days ago and asked her, what America are we going back to make America great again? The one where women couldn't vote or black people were swinging from trees? I would say to him, if I was standing in front of him, I absolutely want to go back.
Black people swinging from trees? No, I'm not at the anti-black part yet. Yeah, can we cut that out? Huh? No? Oh, the anti-blackness just permeates so much of what he says, so you can't even cut that out. That'd be like asking to cut off your own skin, which he has asked to be done. Now let's say this friend, during an election, you're running for president and trying to attract female voters, who said he wants to get back to an America where women couldn't vote, that men are called to lead society, not women, to keep your skirt down and no abortion for any reason, then also repeatedly disparage Jews. Now let's say this friend, during an election in which you're trying to attract women, who said he wants to get back to an America where women couldn't vote, that we're called to be led by men and not women, to keep your skirt down and no abortion for any reason, and cast doubt on the Holocaust, also advocated for political violence.
Some liberal somewhere is going to say that sounds awful. Too bad. Get mad at me if you want to. Some folks need killing. It's time for somebody to say it. It's not a matter of vengeance. It's not a matter of being mean or spiteful. It's a matter of necessity.
Now let's say this friend, who said he wants to get back to an America where women couldn't vote, that we're called to be led by men and not women, to keep their skirts down and no abortion for any reason, cast doubt on the Holocaust, and advocated for political violence, was also accused of fraud.
No, right now. Until they suddenly closed it in April, Mark Robinson and his wife Yolanda operated this business called Balanced Nutrition. What Balanced Nutrition did was administer funds from the federal government to child care centers to pay for meals for low-income kids. Basically, Balanced Nutrition was a middleman. The centers would tell them how many meals they needed, they would claim those funds from the federal government and turn around and distribute them. But it turns out the Robinsons were skimming the numbers. They were claiming way more money for meals than they actually needed, claiming money for child care centers they didn't even work with, and reporting hugely inflated administrative costs. Like Yolanda Robinson just doubled her own salary one year and billed the taxpayers for it. Remember, this is all taxpayer money. We need to be clear, these are not allegations or accusations. These are proven and documented in an official audit by the North Carolina State Department of Health and Human Services. And the scale of the Robinsons' fraud looks to be way larger than anyone thought. The North Carolina State Department of Health and Human Services did an audit of just 3 months of data of a random sample of just 10 of the Robinsons' clients, and they found $130,000 of fraudulent payments that the Robinsons claimed, and they've been ordered to pay it back. And that was just 10 clients. The Robinsons reported over 100 clients. And it's just from 3 months of data. Balanced Nutrition has been operating since 2015, so that time period is only 3% of the time they've been open. Now, if you're wondering what a full audit of the Robinsons' business might look like, it's relevant to note that when the state health department announced their audit back in April, the Robinsons immediately closed Balanced Nutrition, stonewalled the department, and lawyered up. We could easily be talking about millions of dollars stolen. We just don't know yet. These guys are scamming a taxpayer-funded program to provide food for low-income children. State investigators also found a bunch of other stuff that was really bad, like Mark and Yolanda put a bunch of random family members on the payroll, which you're not supposed to do. So Mark and Yolanda Robinson are in serious legal trouble here. Embezzling money from the federal government is a real crime that people go to prison for. They might be hoping for a Trump win just so they can stay out of prison. The good news for the Robinsons is that voters and the news media are so hyper-focused on presidential-level drama right now that, incredibly, this is not front-page news yet. Now look, whether you lean liberal, conservative, moderate, nothing at all, most reasonable people can agree that you shouldn't have people like this in political office. Scammers like the Robinsons are why we can't have nice things. We're going to wait and see what happens next, but these guys absolutely deserve what's coming to them.
Now let's say this friend, who said he wanted to get back to America where women couldn't vote, that we're called to be led by men and not women, to keep their skirts down, no abortion for any reason, cast doubt on the Holocaust, advocated for political violence, and was accused of fraud, was only doing all that in his free time from disparaging black people.
I'm wore out, I'm tired. But here it is. Whenever I think about being wore out and being tired, you know, somebody can get this on their phone and probably end up on Facebook with it. I ain't no little weak gymnast that quits when you go and get stuff. My generation is cut from a different cloth. Now, I don't quit when the going gets tough. Been plenty of times when I've been in the car, tired, dog tired, want to turn around and go back home. You see, I'm not doing this for myself. I'm not like somebody out there flipping around on TV on some monkey bars out there trying to get a gold medal for myself.
Wait a minute, I know I didn't hear that right. I didn't hear that right. No, that could. Did he just disparage Simone Biles? He can't turn over in bed. He talking about the greatest gymnast of all time? This is a man who once called the civil rights movement a communist plot to subvert capitalism, and that so many freedoms were lost during the civil rights movement. He doesn't call himself an African American because Africans were primarily responsible for the slave trade. No, you don't call yourself that because we waived you in the racial draft. Robinson wrote that a satanic Marxist had made the movie Black Panther based on a comic book hero created by an agnostic Jew to pull shekels out of black people's pockets. Attack our politicians? Check. Robinson has repeatedly referred to Michelle Obama as a man, claiming she speaks ghetto, and you know how that goes over when black people call other black people ghetto in front of white people. Oh, Candace Owens was proud of that one. Yeah, her edges bowed. Referred to Michelle Obama as a man, claiming she speaks ghetto and Wookiee, and said that she emanates, quote, the stench of human waste. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris is a joke, a nitwit, and a leftist idiot who supports the right to murder the unborn. And you, Mark Robinson, have the 2021 North Carolina Republican Party convention when you told a bunch of white people that black people owed reparations for slavery. Oh, they clapped and they clapped.
This idiotic guy was on stage with Candace Owens a few days ago and asked her, what America are we going back to make America great again? The one where women couldn't vote or black people were swinging from trees? I would say to him if I was standing in front of him, I absolutely want to go back.
There it is. You know Byron Donald's got to be furious. He's like, y'all dragged me for weeks behind even mentioning Jim Crow. I didn't say nothing about us swinging from trees. See, Byron, this is the benefit to being irrelevant. Wasn't nobody paying attention to Mark Robinson. Let's say you're running for president and you had an old friend who said he wants to go back to an America where women couldn't vote, that we're called to be led by men and not women, to keep their skirts down, no abortion for any reason, then also cast doubt on the Holocaust, advocated for political violence, was accused of fraud, called Simone Biles a weak little gymnast, the civil rights movement a communist plot to subvert capitalism, wrote that a satanic Marxist had made Black Panther based on a comic book hero created by an agnostic Jew to pull shekels out of black people's pockets, referred to Michelle Obama as a man, claiming she speaks ghetto and Wookiee, and said that she emanates the stench of human waste, landing the plane with calling Vice President Kamala Harris a joke, a nitwit, and a leftist idiot who supports the right to murder the unborn. Now, would you keep your distance from this friend? You probably would if you were running for president, right? But if you're Donald Trump,
I want to thank a very good man, and he's in there fighting. He's fighting, and we know he's a fighter. The next governor of North Carolina, Mark Robinson. Thanks, Mark.
Is he even trying to win this? Like he navigating this campaign like the Washington Wizards. This is just as destructive as acknowledging Laura Loomer.
Yeah, Bernie's doing well. The great Laura Loomer. Some of you know Laura. She's a fantastic person, great woman.
This is the man you let speak at your North Carolina rally?
Here it is. My test results. Can you hear my heart beating? Oh, the white man's science is amazing, ain't it? Oh, no. This can't be. It says I'm 102% African with a 2% margin of error. Why, Lord? Why, Lord? Why?
Sorry. That was a wrong speech. That was Mark Robinson a couple years ago. This was him at Trump's Asheville, North Carolina rally.
Folks, I don't have to stand here and tell you what we're up against. You know, I had a conversation with a young lady the other day who told me, she says, you know, I'm voting for you because I like you. But then she said, I'm also voting for Kamala Harris. And I explained to her about a simple word, and that word is this: policy. You see, she thought President Trump is brash and a braggadocio, and I said, hey, hold on a second. We're talking about a man who is willing to sacrifice everything.
Oh, I know. For a woman he barely knows. No? Okay. Oh, I got it. He risked it all to read classified documents on the toilet. No, that wasn't it. For a decent wig?
About a man who's willing to sacrifice everything for the nation that he loves.
Nope, that's definitely not it.
But I told her this. I said, I want you to look at the results that he got in 2016. I said, look at that $1.45 a gallon gas. Look at those full grocery shelves with low prices. Look at the fact that our enemy stood down and cowered when he was in office. By the time I finished that conversation, I had changed her mind.
You changed her mind? You sure she didn't just want to get away from you? Like, all right, whatever you say, weirdo in the median.
Because she understood that it is the policies that this man supports, that I support, that they should be voting for. The economy under Donald Trump was firing on all cylinders. This nation was energy independent. And this nation wanted for nothing. Now under Joe Biden, we see the country suffering. We see gas prices at an all-time high, grocery prices at an all-time high, inflation through the roof. We're suffering because of bad policy. We need to get the good times back. And how do we get the good times back?
Ooh, I got this one. I definitely got this one. Take away women's right to vote.
We re-elect President Donald Trump.
Well, same difference still, despite all of this, wanting to go back to an America where women couldn't vote, where we were swinging from trees, society called to be led by men, not women. Keep your skirt down. No abortion for any reason. Cast doubt on the Holocaust. Some people need killing. Accused of fraud. Call Simone Biles a weak little gymnast, the civil rights movement a communist plot to subvert capitalism, and wrote that a satanic Marxist had made the movie Black Panther based on a comic book hero created by an agnostic Jew to pull shekels out of black people's pockets. Called Michelle Obama a man, claiming she speaks ghetto and Wookiee and she emanates the stench of human waste, and that Kamala Harris is a joke, a nitwit, and a leftist idiot. Despite all of that,
I am Mark Robinson. I am the first black lieutenant governor of North Carolina. And come November, I plan on being the first black governor of North Carolina.
And that is why I'm troubled. Sincere thanks to everybody who's reached out to me and submitted suggestions for videos. Keep them coming. I take submissions for ideas for a video, suggestions for Racist of the Week. If you have something that just troubles you, or you just want to send me a note, because I love getting those notes, go ahead and shoot me an email at reese@reesewaters.com. I also have a newsletter that I send out periodically, so you'll be receiving that as well. You can also sign up on my website, reesewaters.com.
On behalf of everyone whose story could only be written in the greatest nation on earth, I accept your nomination to be President of the United States of America.
Kamala Harris will never be my president!
Simply put, they are out of their minds.
Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Well, she did it. She accepted the nomination.
And so, on behalf of the people, on behalf of every American, regardless of party, race, gender, or the language your grandmother speaks, on behalf of my mother, and everyone who has ever set out on their own unlikely journey, on behalf of Americans like the people I grew up with, people who work hard, chase their dreams, and look out for one another, on behalf of everyone whose story could only be written in the greatest nation on earth, I accept your nomination to be President of the United States of America.
That was certainly better than the unwritten comedy I have in my head. Thank y'all so much for coming out and the 4 days of love and affection. I do not accept the nomination. However, I would like to promote my new line from Fashion Nova. I'll take this one, because we cannot have Trump back.
Donald Trump is like an old boyfriend who you broke up with, but he just won't go away. He has spent the last 4 years spinning the block, trying to get back into a relationship with the American people. Bro, we broke up with you for a reason.
Yo, my man Hakeem killed it. I got a whole video all about he and AOC. The link will be in the description. But back to Kamala.
I believe America cannot truly be prosperous unless Americans are fully able to make their own decisions about their own lives, especially on matters of heart and home. But tonight, in America, too many women are not able to make those decisions. And let's be clear about how we got here. Donald Trump handpicked members of the United States Supreme Court to take away reproductive freedom. And now he brags about it. In his words, quote, "I did it and I'm proud to have done it," end quote. Well, I'll tell you, over the past 2 years, I've traveled across our country, and women have told me their stories. Husbands and fathers have shared theirs. Stories of women miscarrying in a parking lot, developing sepsis, losing the ability to ever again have children, all because doctors are afraid they may go to jail for caring for their patients. Couples just trying to grow their family, cut off in the middle of IVF treatments. Children who have survived sexual assault, potentially being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. This is what's happening in our country because of Donald Trump. And understand, he is not done. As a part of his agenda, he and his allies would limit access to birth control, ban medication abortion, and enact a nationwide abortion ban with or without Congress. And get this, he plans to create a national anti-abortion coordinator and force states to report on women's miscarriages and abortions. Simply put, they are out of their minds.
I can't speak for Indian households, but I've certainly heard that said in that tone many times in the black household.
Simply put, they are out of their minds. One must ask, why exactly is it that they don't trust women? Well, we trust women. We trust women. And when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedom, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law.
Oh, I can tell you why they don't trust women. Because they can't be trusted. That is simple projection 101. You know that one partner in a relationship who just swears the other person is cheating, only to find out later just a litany of indiscretions in their phone and an Ashley Madison account? I can tell you why they don't trust women. Because they can't be trusted.
And we know what a second Trump term would look like. It's all laid out in Project 2025, written by his closest advisors. and its sum total is to pull our country back to the past. But America, we are not going back. We are not going back. We are not going back. We are not going back to when Donald Trump tried to cut Social Security and Medicare. We are not going back to when he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, when insurance companies could deny people with pre-existing conditions. We are not going to let him eliminate the Department of Education that funds our public schools. We are not going to let him end programs like Head Start that provide preschool and child care for our children. America, we are not going back. And we are charting a new way forward.
And just in case you were wondering what back looked like.
And know this, I will never hesitate to take whatever action is necessary to defend our forces and our interests against Iran and Iran-backed terrorists. I will not cozy up to tyrants and dictators like Kim Jong-un who are rooting for Trump. Because, you know, they know he is easy to manipulate with flattery and favors.
And we got a reminder this very week just how easy it is to manipulate Donald Trump.
There's the childish nicknames, the crazy conspiracy theories, this weird obsession with crowd sizes.
It could have been Barack Hussein Obama, perhaps. We should ask him. Now, he was very nasty last night. I try and be nice to people, you know, but it's a little tough when they get personal. Please, again, remember, please, sir, don't get personal. Talk about policy. Let me ask you about that. We're going to do a free poll. Here are the two questions. Should I get personal? Should I not get personal? Ready? Should I get personal? Should I not get personal? I don't know. My advisors are fired.
It's easy to manipulate with flattery and favors. They know Trump won't hold autocrats accountable because he wants to be an autocrat himself. And as president, I will never waver in defense of America's security and ideals, because in the enduring struggle between democracy and tyranny, I know where I stand and I know where the United States belongs.
Yeah, y'all remember the Trump years? Waking up and having to check the internet to see what potential international crisis or conflict we might have gotten ourselves into because he got his feelings hurt. All of the stress and strain that comes with an unrestrained child having access to all the codes and all the buttons. Now think about that, except without having to be reelected.
Fellow Americans, this election is not only the most important of our lives, it is one of the most important in the life of our nation. In many ways, Donald Trump is an unserious man. But the consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious. Consider not only the chaos and calamity when he was in office, but also the gravity of what has happened since he lost the last election. Donald Trump tried to throw away your votes. When he failed, he sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol, where they assaulted law enforcement officers. When politicians in his own party begged him to call off the mob and send help, he did the opposite. He fanned the flames. And now, for an entirely different set of crimes, he was found guilty of fraud by a jury of everyday Americans and separately found liable for committing sexual abuse. And consider what he intends to do if we give him power again. Consider his explicit intent to set free violent extremists who assaulted those law enforcement officers at the Capitol. His explicit intent to jail journalists, political opponents, and anyone he sees as the enemy. His explicit intent to deploy our active duty military against our own citizens. Consider the power he will have, especially after the United States Supreme Court just ruled that he would be immune from criminal prosecution. Just imagine Donald Trump with no guardrails, and how he would use the immense powers of the presidency of the United States, not to improve your life, not to strengthen our national security, but to serve the only client he has ever had, himself.
I'm old enough to remember when a candidate didn't need to assert their support of the peaceful transfer of power. Now it's partisan. Thanks, MAGA.
With this election, and with this election, our nation with this election has a precious, fleeting opportunity to move past the bitterness, cynicism, and divisive battles of the past, a chance to chart a new way forward. Not as members of any one party or faction, but as Americans. And let me say, I know there are people of various political views watching tonight, and I want you to know, I promise to be a president for all Americans. You can always trust me to put country above party and self, to hold sacred America's fundamental principles, from the rule of law to free and fair elections, to the peaceful transfer of power.
Now, this was a theme of the entire week, this message of uniting America and juxtaposing the vibe of this campaign and this party with the anger and grievance on the right. Pete Buttigieg talked about this as well.
Yes, politics at its worst can be ugly, crushing, demeaning, but it doesn't have to be. At its best, politics can be empowering, uplifting. It can even be a kind of soulcraft. My faith teaches me that the world isn't made up of good people and bad people, but rather that each of us is capable of good and bad things. And I believe leaders matter because of what they bring out in each of us, the good or the bad.
The link to that video will be in the description as well. Now, Harris did have some important mending to do in her own party with respect to Gaza.
President Biden and I are working around the clock because now is the time to get a hostage deal and a ceasefire deal done. And let me be clear, I will always stand up for Israel's right to defend itself, and I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself, because the people of Israel must never again face the horror that a terrorist organization called Hamas caused on October 7, including unspeakable sexual violence and the massacre of young people at a music festival. At the same time, what has happened in Gaza over the past 10 months is devastating. So many innocent lives lost. Desperate, hungry people fleeing for safety over and over again. The scale of suffering is heartbreaking. President Biden and I are working to end this war such that Israel is secure, the hostages are released, the suffering in Gaza ends, and the Palestinian people can realize their right to dignity, security, freedom, and self-determination.
Now, I thought that she balanced that extremely well, but the DNC didn't, nor did the Democratic Party. This is the end of a whole week of people complaining why there were no Palestinian voices that were allowed up on stage. Here is what I don't understand. How is it that as a party, you are going to deal with allegations of anti-Semitism coming from the right at the same time as you have people demonstrating your convention all week asserting that you are engaging in supporting a genocide? How do you do both? How do you do both? Democrats, pick a struggle. It's time to pick a struggle. Either decide that you are going to side with affirming the humanity of Palestinians and deal with the blowback coming from the right, which, by the way, won't last all that long once all the Zionists realize just how shallow the love for Jews runs in deep red MAGA country. Or you decide that you're going to go hard body in with Israel and Netanyahu, cut off that stream of criticism you have coming from the right, but that leaves the people that are protesting and the people that are here for Palestinian lives with a very tough choice, considering just how in with Netanyahu and the Zionists Donald Trump has been. You have to give them that choice if that's who they want to elect. But either way, pick a struggle. All right, it's time to land this plane.
So let's get out there. Let's fight for it. Let's get out there. Let's vote for it. And together, let us write the next great chapter in the most extraordinary story ever told. Thank you. God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you all.
Now, technically, the most extraordinary story ever told was the legend of Bagger Vance. But this one is pretty good too. Now, as for Donald Trump,
simply put, they are out of their minds.
Just how much have they lost their minds? Well, this was Trump tweeting all throughout Kamala Harris's speech. Got to make sure you get those political points from all those head coaches that have grievance with the assistant coach taking all the credit. And by the way, These were how well his people were taking the DNC.
Survivors of crime.
No
to
way.
Remind them, no one should be made to fight alone.
Camilla Harris will never be my president.
Oh, they lost their minds, all right. Even Fox News couldn't take Trump.
Beaten Joe Biden in a Democrat primary. I have no doubt about it. And they made it absolutely impossible for him. They made it that you have to get 60, 70% of the vote just to get in. And you know what?
President.
In the end, the Democrats did the same thing to Joe Biden. They threw Joe Biden out of the party.
And that's
they
why
did
we
the
saw a
same
different
thing
night
as they did to RFK.
Mr. President, thank you so
very
much.
sir.
I don't know if he's going to make it to the debate. That is, if he even intends to.
I can tell you this. I don't blame Donald Trump for not wanting to debate Kamala. I've been married to a black woman for 40 years, and I ain't won one debate. I'm owing $93,000.
Never interrupt a comedian on a roll. Take us out, DL.
Now, of course, Trump is saying that Kamala isn't black. I guarantee you this, Kamala's been black a lot longer than Trump's been a Republican. And if he keeps sliding in the polls the way he is, the only way he can keep Kamala out of the White House is if he buys it and refuses to rent it to her. Of course, Kamala's getting broad support. They got black men for Kamala, white men for Kamala, Latinos and Asians for Kamala. They even have Republicans for Kamala. Republicans for Kamala. I guess Donald Trump will finally know what it's like when you get left for a younger woman.
Sincere thanks to everybody who's reached out to me and submitted suggestions for videos. Keep them coming. I take submissions for ideas for a video, suggestions for Racist of the Week. If you have something that just troubles you, or you just want to send me a note, because I love getting those notes, go ahead and shoot me an email at reesewaters.com. I also have a newsletter that I send out periodically, so you'll be receiving that as well. You can also sign up on my website, reesewaters.com.